Hello and welcome to The Breakdown. This is where we pick apart each episode of the podcast, correct our mistakes, give you little bonus facts, and collectively lose our minds. In episode 1, we spoke about the management of pain through history, and that was a really long time ago for us now. We recorded that over a year ago, and so it's really good for us to be able to come and break it down for you. So, who wants to start?
Well, I suppose I could start with, in that I extensively say how I'm in the northeast. No longer in the northeast. I'm in the southeast.
Wow, you're a changed man.
Oh God, the south.
How are you enjoying the South?
As much as any Yorkshireman in the south. Yeah, it's great. I love it so much.
But it's exciting what you're doing down there.
Yeah,
Specialty
absolutely.
training.
Yeah, specialty training in emergency medicine, so I get to see some good stuff. Get to see some high acuity medicine. See a lot of chronic pain coming through as well, which is
Nice. I feel like did I say that I was in the north in that episode? I can't remember.
I don't know, but you've also gone
But
south.
I've also gone south.
You've
Yeah.
all left me.
So it's just Joe up north now.
Alone up north.
But
He's
yeah,
holding the fort, isn't he?
I am.
From the
Working-
Scots.
working down south in the big smoke.
We went on to speak at the beginning about the Edwin Smith Papyrus. Josh was telling us about this, and I told you it was the oldest medical document of all time, and that is incorrect. So that's the
Joe.
first episode 1, first piece of content was incorrect. It's actually about 200 years younger than the Cahoon Papyrus, which was the one that we spoke about, where Don spoke about his types of contraception.
Marmite.
Marmite.
Is that genuinely just like you don't like somebody, you go home, it's like, okay, let's bust out the Marmite.
But
Do you know how contraception works, Josh? Why would you go home and use it?
You don't take someone... Josh is like, I don't like this person, but I've got to take them home anyway.
I don't know. You go home, you have
You have second
coffee,
thoughts.
and then you're like, no.
Oh, sorry. I
let's
thought you
bust
went to your separate respective houses and then you bust out the Marmite.
Well,
And I was like, that's pretty redundant.
Where are you storing your Marmite? Are you just taking Marmite out with you?
I have a little.
My
You know how
Marmite's in
you
the
know how
fridge.
you can get like little keychain attachments for like sriracha sauce.
Yeah.
Yours is Marmite.
Mine's no, it's not. I wish it was. But I do love Marmite. I wish it came in a little teeny tiny bottle that I can attach to my keychain.
I've got a tiny bottle of Henderson's Relish. If you're from
Hendo's. Oof.
yeah, Hendo's is just amazing. Super Sheffield classic sauce, and it comes in a tiny bottle. So when I run out of my tiny bottle and get a new one, I'll give you it, and you can fill it with
But
Marmite.
it's not going to be the same
Why?
because I'll have to replace the labeling, and I don't want to do that to Hendo's.
Okay, fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for those listening that aren't from the north of England, Henderson's Relish is a bit like Liam Perrin's Worcestershire sauce, apart from it tastes good.
Oof.
Exactly.
You're in the south now, Josh.
I'm not in the south. I'm currently sat here in the
the north.
northwest of England.
Exactly. Right. Moving on. What else did we discuss in the podcast?
The Hearst Papyrus.
The Hearst Papyrus. Yes, I actually did do what I said I was going to do and make some notes about this.
Oh, fab. Was this the one that we
Brushed over.
brushed over? Yeah.
Yeah, so the Hearst Papyrus, funnily enough, there was an expedition, obviously, as we said, named after a dude, because that was just what happened at the time, of a guy called Hearst.
Classic.
He was doing like an expedition in ancient Egypt, and he allowed someone who he, and I quote, called a peasant, to come and pick out from their like refuse piles, so like basically the trash that they just left in a pile, and they were really grateful for like being allowed to come and pick through the litter. And so they brought him this papyrus, and they were like, we found this in a brick in our house. And it was one of the oldest medical documents of all time. So there you go.
Wow.
It's got 18 columns of text, but it's unclear how long it was originally meant to be. And it dates around the same time with the Ebers Papyrus. Some people say that it's a copy of the script and that there's just bits missing from each one and that it's just kind of ordered differently. It's got symptoms such as pains in the body, pains in the head, swellings, scabs, boils, blood eaters, I don't know what symptom that is, constipation and bloody urination. And it talks about different prescriptions. So it's got prescriptions for breaking up pains in the body, removing pains in the body, killing pains in any limb, removing pains piercing any limb of a man, and sorry, these are all quote verbatim. And of course, cooling the rectum and healing the bite of a crocodile, lion or pig.
I mean,
About
I
so much
think,
there.
I think we mentioned this, didn't we? It's like, how common are pigs in Egypt? I mean, I understand that now it's a Muslim country, but like prior to that, there was quite a lot of Jewish people, right? So like,
Yeah.
how common is pig in like North Africa?
I don't know.
I can't answer that.
I mean, it's just
No,
One of
just
the
an
serious
interesting,
ones,
yeah. So if you know, please write in. Tell us how common pigs are in Egypt.
Also,
If you're Egyptian, please let us know
Yeah.
how many. Obviously, you
Not
have.
the fact that you're Egyptian, but about
Yeah, let
the
us know how,
pigs.
if there's a lot of pigs around.
Yeah.
So for them, every illness and ache and pain was about supernatural influence. And so every remedy was combined with a recitation of words and charms to be used. So it was like a kind of almost like a spell to say at the same time. So there you go. That's
Spooky.
kind of the key thing there. Spooky.
Do you know why the Hearst Papyrus was called the Hearst Papyrus?
Was it named after someone called Hearst?
Yes, Phoebe Hearst. How boring is that?
Wow, I literally
That was
said
Phoebe. It wasn't an old dude. It was an old woman.
Phoebe,
Phoebe.
get in.
Nice.
One for the girls.
Maybe it was the daughter or the wife of the person who discovered it.
No,
Oh,
fantastic.
no,
We're
no.
good to hear. No, okay, I just
yeah.
assumed that is really bad of me. I assumed it was a dude because they're always old Victorian gentlemen. Fantastic.
That actually,
Phoebe Hearst.
that actually pleases that.
Big up Phoebe for letting Egyptian, and I quote, that you called peasants pick through your litter. In Edwin Smith, there was a moment when Josh and I spoke about a part of your spine, your neck,
Yeah.
and I mispronounced this. Or there's arguments. Do you want to tell people about the argument, Josh?
I mean, if you spell it out, it says cervical.
Okay, but
But-
that could be misleading, and why?
Because that could be the cervix.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah, cervical is usually the pronunciation of choice. I also made a big error in that I said that there was 6 cervical vertebrae when actually there's 7. The reason I did this is just because of the pressures of, like, filming. I was like, oh, I remember the nerve roots. So, like, there's, like, C1 through to C8 in terms of nerve roots, but there's one less. So I was like, oh, one less bones. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, so it's not. So I was like, oh, C7. I was like, oh yeah, so it's 6 rather than 7. But yeah, there's 7 cervicals.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we might need a breakdown on the breakdown. Because Phoebe Hearst, I've just looked her up. Do you know who Phoebe Hearst is?
How would I know who Phoebe Hearst is?
Do you know who Phoebe
No.
Hearst is, Joe? Phoebe Hearst is a philanthropist, feminist, and suffragist. So I doubt she was the one who discovered the papyrus.
It was indeed not Phoebe Hearst who was the one who found the papyrus herself, given that she was already 57 and had far better things to do than be out in Egypt on her own. It was George A. Reisner who was the one who was heading the expedition and who let the local individual go through their waste piles for fertilizer, it turns out. And that was in 1899 through to 1905, that expedition. But Phoebe Hearst, because of our wrongs to her for not recognising her great work, little bit of background on her. She was born in 1842 in Missouri in the United States. She worked as a local school teacher while she was young. She married her distant cousin when she was 19 and he was 41. And together they gave birth. Well, not together, they didn't give birth, but she gave birth, I guess, with the involvement of him, to her only son, William. While he was young, she took him on a grand tour of Europe, visiting castles and museums and cultural centres, and culture was a huge part of her life because her husband, who later became a United States Senator, when he died in 1891 and left the estate to her, she used the money from the estate to set up a national school for girls in Washington, D.C. because she was super progressive and really valued female education. She gave large gifts to the University of California at Berkeley for female student scholarships. She funded nursery school teaching sort of centres, and she established the first free nursery or kindergarten in the US. Her philanthropy and payment for expeditions resulted in 60,000 objects being collected worldwide during her lifetime and creating the University of California's Phoebe A. Hearst Museum of Anthropology, and now that museum has over 3 million objects that have been collected. And so all of this before she passed away, sadly, from Spanish flu in the 1919 epidemic. But what a woman and what a life. So back to the breakdown. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown within a breakdown. Josh made a mistake, I made a mistake, but Don didn't so much make a mistake as say something that makes absolutely no fucking sense.
I have no recollection of
Josh is
saying
like,
this.
I was like, I'm more interested in what they dissolve their medicines in, and I was like talking about water from the bird pond, and then I spoke about the milk of a woman who has born a son, and Don was like, why is the water from the bird pond more common than the breast milk, I think? And I was like, right, I'll tell you what, I'll edit in now so you can hear exactly what he said.
Why is that more common than the milk? I assume. Okay, I said I think.
And this makes no sense at all. So, okay, he didn't get something wrong, but the problem is the continuity errors removing that are just impossible. So I had to leave it in. So if you're wondering, That sentence in the middle made no sense at all.
Get used to it because I'll be doing that a lot. I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time.
There you go. So that was all the papyruses.
Yeah, and apparently something about flies. We mentioned is it the dirt from a fly?
Mixing opium with the dirt from a fly which is on the wall, and Don quite cleverly asked, he thought, what is fly dirt? Is it the dirt a fly picks up, or is it fly shit? And you said, we were like, oh, we're assuming it's shit from it's fly poo. And you said, Don, has anyone ever seen fly poo? And I was expecting it to be a no, and Josh went, oh, I have. So I was thinking, oh, this could be an interesting little segment to add in. Josh is going to tell us something interesting about biology. So I said, oh, do you want to tell us more, Josh? He just went, it's shit from a fly. And every time I listen back to that episode, I think, you're a dick.
It's just factual. I mean, did you have those really terrible ceiling fans as a kid?
Not in my house, but yeah.
Yeah, so like we used to have those, and because I grew up around the countryside, there's a lot of flies, and cause it's really terrible sort of like ventilation and what have you. We used to have the windows and doors all open, so we used to have quite a lot of flies in the house during the summer. And yeah, it's just like little black brown sort of deposits on things where like the flies have been sitting and defecating.
Sitting and shitting.
Wait, so for you to be able to see that, it must be of quite a substantial size. So would you say that the flies are shitting just as much as their body, like the volume of their body can hold?
No, but
What?
I've got an interesting fact about
I don't
flies.
understand how you can physically see.
I think he's
Does it
talking about like
build up?
blue bottles, not fruit flies.
Yeah, it builds up.
He's not
Right.
talking about like a fruit fly shitting itself out of
Okay.
its ass.
Because that's
Turning
microscopic,
inside
surely.
Oh, did you know though the Drosophila, which is a fruit fly, has the largest sperm of any creature in the world?
I bet
It's
my sperm are
5
bigger.
It's 5 centimeters long.
Okay, I bet you then.
It's longer than the. I think it's 5. It's either 5 millimeters or 5 centimeters, but it's longer than the body of a.
Wait,
fly.
these are the ones where it's rolled up, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
split like an individual cell.
A single sperm cell is like let's.
It's wrapped up like a fruit winder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that why they're called fruit flies?
No,
Maybe.
I doubt it.
You went on, Josh, later on to speak about. We spoke about the Cahoon papyrus, and I spoke about the very effective contraception, which is crocodile dung, milk, and bicarbonate of soda into the vagina. And we agreed that would be a pretty effective contraceptive. And you
Yeah.
said that might cause BV.
Yeah. So for those people that don't know, BV is bacterial vaginosis. So that's caused by an overgrowth of bacteria. Most commonly, I think it's Gardnerella, which is a type of bacteria.
Cool.
Gardnerella.
Yeah.
Sounds like it should be a flyer. A flyer? A flyer?
A flyer.
Been talking too much
A
about
flyer.
flies. A flower. Gardnerella. Or a Pokemon.
I mean, there's actually, yeah. What's it?
Chlamydia! I choose you! Who's that Pokemon? It's BV!
It's Pikachu!
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We spoke about gastrointestinal health a little bit in there when we were talking about OCDU, and I mentioned the trial about ulcerative colitis and about stool transplants, and I still can't find the reference, and I've got it written down somewhere, so I will get it to you when I find it.
I don't know. I'm starting to question Joe's credibility here.
I know, God. There is I've got the paper somewhere. I need to go digging.
He
But
had
there you
one
go.
job. Well, no, he's got millions of jobs, including teaching Don and I how to use technology.
There we go.
And I think we mentioned carotid massages, didn't we?
I think that might be the final
Don
one.
was
yeah.
suggesting you do it to yourself.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I did?
yeah. Don't.
And what should you do instead?
So like modern carotid massage, we mentioned it decreases the heart rate, and it can help with things like SVTs, supraventricular tachycardia.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use that now typically in medical use. What we use is something called like a modified Valsalva. So Valsalva is like increasing intra-abdominal pressure,
Okay.
but we modify that. So what we do is we give you a syringe, like a 50 ml syringe, okay?
Yeah.
Do you know the one with the plunger in it?
Oh, yes, I do like those.
So we'd keep the plunger in, you put it in your mouth, and then you try and blow the plunger out, so you're really blowing really hard.
Okay.
Yeah. What that does is that increases the intra-abdominal pressure, causes a Valsalva effect. But then, whilst you're doing that, what we do is we get you on bed and we just tilt you upside down and it's like...
Like a space training machine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a table.
Like a G-force
Yeah,
training.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Tilt
So
table.
we tilt you 45 degrees with your head facing down.
Wow. Okay, so that's just to manipulate the pressure inside.
It really effectively treats supraventricular tachycardia. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And it's just more of a modern way of doing that, because the risks are, if you do a carotid massage, that's massaging the carotid artery, is that if you've got plaque there, like atherosclerosis, like from years of smoking and having fatty foods, if you rub that, if there's a clot there, you can actually cause it to fire off a clot to your brain and have a stroke.
Oh,
So we don't like doing that
So
anymore.
don't do that.
So don't do that. No, don't.
Anyone a Mitchell and Webb fan, you'll get the "Don't Do That" reference.
Hopefully.
Anything else to add?
No, I think that was it for me.
Yeah. Also, it's like we've come quite a way since filming that first episode, haven't we?
We have. We've tried to create a bit of a backlog in advance. We'll talk more about this when you get things really out of order in terms of continuity errors. But you'll get this in episode 12. You'll hear us talking about the growing pains of making a podcast.
We're still figuring it out. It's a learning process.
Yeah, there is definitely growing pains, but hopefully, if you guys want to feedback, let us know what you think. Would be great. It'd be great, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We can always improve different areas that aren't working.
Email us at painthepodcast@gmail.com, which you already know because you've subscribed to Patreon.
Yeah, and that's Pain in the Podcast. That's PAINPODCASS.
He's just said Pain Podcast. On that note of Josh making another mistake.
Oh no!
Enjoy part 2 of the episode, and we will see you very soon with another episode of The Breakdown.
Yes. See you later.
Skibbity-bidoo-bop. Boop.